Oh my gosh, it's a reply video to a reply video. We are positively recreating old YouTube as we speak. This is a video about somebody else's video, about one of my videos. So, I don't know. Is this a good idea? I don't know. I'll link the video that I'm replying to in the description, but I did want to make a reply because, you know, people engaging with my stuff is cool, and so I'm going to engage with that stuff. Feels fair. I don't know. And I am rocking the deepest of V's right now. Let me go ahead and just put that away so you won't be distracted. I'm thinking about you, my viewers. Brooke wanted to talk about checklist design versus designing with intent. He had some problems with one of the examples that I used, and I think the reason is because I may not have explained myself quite right. So the example that he took issue with is the example of the human. To clarify, I don't have a problem with the hat that humans have been given in 5th edition. It is basically the hat that humans have had in D&D since the very beginning. It's a fine hat. It's not the only one that to use. Like, some other systems do other things for humans, but in D&D, the human thing is not having a specific thing, being generalists. I don't have a problem with that. That is fine. And actually, it doesn't really enter into checklist design because that's sort of a high-level concept thing to put into a game. What I have a problem with is when you have a design goal, but your design goal is not anything to do with the way that gameplay is going to happen. You don't consider at any point how a given mechanic or option or ability is going to affect the play at the table. When you do take that into consideration, that is designing with intent. You have an intended gameplay experience that you are designing towards, and you are going to create mechanics that encourage and facilitate that gameplay experience. If you aren't doing that, the alternative is to say, like, well, we need humans to be generalists, so we're going to give them generalist abilities. And that's it. That is checklist design. You have a checklist of things that a race or a class or whatever needs to have, and as long as you check all the boxes, that is good. You have accomplished your goal. That's what I have a problem with. Checklist design is not just lazy design, because you can design with intent lazily or badly. You know, sometimes you make a mistake, or sometimes you're a bad designer. Both of those things happen. Or sometimes you didn't have time to, you haven't undergone playtesting, and so things work out differently than you expected. You know, there's all sorts of reasons why a design might be bad. That doesn't make it checklist design. Checklist design is a lack of intent towards the gameplay experience. It means that you are putting things in only because you believe that they need to be there. You talked about, you ran the metaphor of doing the dishes, which I think is a pretty good metaphor for this. You know, if someone says, go do the dishes, and you're like, aces, boss, and you go do 3 dishes out of a whole sink full, you've done the dishes. You have succeeded at your mission. Does that mean that that is a good way to do things? Obviously not. No, the intent is to clear the sink so that it can be used for other things, and those dishes are now refreshed and ready to be reused. And that creates a better experience for everyone involved in the kitchen going forward. That's intent. The intent of the statement, go do the dishes, is we need to have a clear sink, and we need to be able to reuse these dishes that are currently dirty and not able to be used. The checklist design is go wash a number of dishes. That's the difference in the mentality between checklist design and designing with intent. It's not about whether or not humans are generalists, because that's a design goal. Your design goals are a higher level of design. It's an earlier step than whether or not you are designing by checklist or you are designing by intent. Your example of the barbarian, you're like, does the barbarian need to have rage? Probably. in the context of D&D, we'll say that it is. I will grant that rage is necessary for a barbarian to really be a barbarian in the sense of the D&D barbarian. If you want to get into the historical context of the word barbarian, that's actually a really fun journey, but I don't have time for it in this video. It's not really relevant. So, the D&D barbarian needs to have some sort of rage. They get mad or they get emotional, let's say, because they're kind of moving away from rage always being about anger. It's like you have this like emotion that builds up in you, and then you use that to be stronger and tougher and more dangerous and to do things that normal people cannot do. All right, so that's high level concept. How are you going to work that into mechanics? Because that's not a mechanic. Being mad isn't a mechanic. There isn't a mechanic for be mad and be better. That is the concept of the class, and now you need to move into the mechanics that make that true. So in checklist design, which is what 5th edition does, you have a state that you can enter called rage. In this state, you gain various benefits. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. You do a little bit, a tiny amount more damage with your weapon attacks. And then there's also some benefits about like your strength checks, which hardly interplay because strength checks are so very rare. Why did I scratch my ear that way? This is a monkey move right here. I guess I don't have my left hand free. That's why. I have figured it out. All right. Moving on. So that is, and that's fine. There's nothing inherent. Well, there's a couple of things inherently wrong with that. I actually don't like the rage as a state design. I think there's a lot of problems that come with that automatically, but let's ignore that for a moment. Fine. That's how you want it to be. But how does that affect and influence the gameplay experience? Is it a good gameplay experience? Is it the experience that the designers want you to have? Now, there's three possibilities, actually. One, which I think is the most likely, is that the designers don't really care what experience you have. It's not something that has entered into their minds. It is not something that has been considered when these classes are being built. And this is why I call it checklist design and why it is the opposite of designing with intent, because they didn't intend for any particular gameplay experience. They said, you're going to enter rage, you're going to do a little bit more damage, and you're going to be a little tougher. Those are the things a barbarian is supposed to do. Are you tough enough? Do you do enough damage? Who knows? Who cares? Does it give a satisfying gameplay loop? Who knows? Who cares? That's not relevant to the design process. That's just, you get these things that you say you want in a barbarian. Therefore, we have succeeded at creating a barbarian. Like that is, I think, obviously a gross oversimplification, but I think that's more or less how it goes down. But the other two possibilities is that it either does succeed at creating the gameplay experience the designers wanted, which would be weird. That would be wild if the barbarian is playing as intended, or it fails to meet those expectations. Now, either of those two processes would indicate that the barbarian has some sort of intended gameplay experience, which I don't think is the case. And is not how it feels like it is, because there isn't really an intended, or there isn't really a consistent gameplay experience for the barbarian, or for a lot of D&D classes, to be honest, in 5th edition. So that's what I'm trying to get at when with regards to checklist design versus designing with intent. It has nothing to do with how well something is designed, because things can be designed with intent badly. You can do checklist design and end up with something cool, something like really fun and engaging, potentially. It's kind of random, so probably you won't, I would guess. But like either one of those things can happen. So it does not have to do with game quality, but in designing with intent is a focus on the experience in play that a gameplay mechanic is going to create or facilitate or support. Whereas checklist design does not consider the effect that it will have on gameplay. So that's the difference, and that's what I'm talking about. And so I think that probably is core to that is probably core to the, the misunderstanding that I think has occurred here. So that's my reply to Brooke's reply to my video on this particular topic. And so I guess I'll take this as a kind of part 2 of my discussion on that. So, happy hunting! Also, I don't like, subscribe, or comment when I am told to do so. So I'm not doing that. Oh, actually, well, no, I probably will. Probably have, actually, by the time this video goes up. All right, bye.